Okay, guys, it's 8 p.m. Thank you very much for attending Adobe Premiere Pro CC 2020 free webinar. And the trainer going to be Mr. Tibor from New York. So I'll try to give him the control and we will take over from here, Tibor, okay?
Salam, thank you. Okay, just greeting everybody so you know that it's a live person behind the computer, not a robot. So I just want to say everybody welcome to the session, and I should be a presenter. To have better bandwidth, I'm going to just cover the camera, discontinue it, but you should be hearing my voice clearly. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I'm sharing the screen. So everybody should see a screen, and when we do that, the scenario is going to shared. And this is what I am looking at. You and I have promoted and addressed the issue of having a scenario where we are dealing with Adobe Premiere Pro, the Creative Cloud, the 2020. And I'm going to cover.
We cannot see you, Tibor.
Yes?
We cannot see you.
You cannot see me. All right.
Yeah.
So that's something with the presenting of the screen. All right. So let's find out why it's not. Let me go back here. Okay. Camera is off. Okay, the camera is on my face. That's fine. How about the screen share? How about that? Can you see it now? The screen.
No, not yet. Yeah, it's connecting.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so everybody sees that now?
Yeah. No, it's not yet.
Screen share, we have it. Everybody has the screen shared. Everybody said the screen. There we go. And now you should see this window.
Yes, we can see Exceed, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Apologize for that slight delay. So you and I are opening up Premiere Pro. I don't know how many of you are using Premiere Pro. If you're a novice, if you are a user, you generally know that you open up your Premiere Pro using the app. So let's open it up and understand what is new. If the picture that you see is the one that I see, it is the same as you should see on the book. So if you buy the book on Amazon or wherever else, that is the book that helps you go through lessons, and that is the book I'm using the lesson material from. So when the open up screen, that's something you're familiar with. And you know that if you were working in earlier versions, the new project was what you were looking at. So opening up the new project. Right now, I'm going to introduce to a new system, a new concept where you're not opening up a project, but you are opening a new production. And the production difference is generally allowing you to have multiple projects connected, so you don't need to constantly copy material from one project to another project. So that's the first step. So I'm going to open up a new production, and I'll call it Dubai Tuesday Test. It will create a separate folder, and I will put it into a location, which is what I chose in a location on my external drive, Dubai webinar, and that's what's going to go. So it opens up. When it opens up, you will notice that it has similar look as anything that you have seen before, except there is a upper left-hand corner window now that is identifying it as a project. So here's how expediency will work. I will add a couple of material assets to it by right-clicking inside and adding it as a new project. And that project is going to be called Dubai Test Desert. I'm going to add two more just quickly. New project, opens it up. New York City and Dubai Test, multicam. And for the face recognition, I have one test, excuse me. So now these new projects are ready for me, but there is no material in them. As you remember, when you are dealing with the Premiere, there is two different ways of connecting the media. One is called link. Even though Avid, interesting. Adobe Premiere, when it links to material, it calls it import. So if you open up the project, for example, the excuse me, and you make it full screen, you know how to make it full screen, either left double clicking on it or using the tilde character. The tilde character, you're familiar with the tilde character. If you're not, say hello to your new friend that is going to be showing your keyboard shortcuts. The way I accessed the keyboard shortcuts was Command Option K, and on this one, I actually see that the tilde character, the squiggly, I don't know how you guys call it, but it's called tilde or squiggly, is maximizing or minimizing the window. So let's close that. So if I want to have that window, the Dubai test, excuse me, tilde brings it up full screen. And if you right click, the import option gives you a ability to look for it. I happen to know that all my material that I'm using is part of the PPL Lessons 220, which is the book that I'm using as a reference. In the assets, I have assets, and I'm looking for the theft unexpected, and I'm going to get all these clips connected. So all the clips are connected, and it is showing up either as a text view, you know how to do that, or picture view. When it's picture view, you can obviously make it bigger and smaller, but that's not my issue. My issue is I need to move on and put together a whole variety of projects together in this production. So let's find out what is in the production where I have the New York pictures. Right click again, import, open up, and find the assets that are the New York material. Assets, it's in the video and audio. There we go. Select all, Control A, or Command A, depending on which system are using, Windows or Mac. And all the pictures come up. And the only thing that is interesting here is that these pictures that I'm looking at, let's refresh the window, are different raster size. So some of them might be 1280 some of them might be 1920 1080, but essentially they are all the same aspect ratio, 16:9. So with that being said, let's move on to the next one, the desert. The desert is a fun one because there is a number of images that you and I will be using to reference things. So where is it? Same place, assets, desert, Command A, Control A selects all of them, and now we're back in. And before we finish off, I would like to also bring up the multicam because we talked about the multicam. So might as well find where the multicam is, and the multicam is, if I don't see it, clearly, remember, we can make it small tilde, and under there, find out where the multicam is. Multicam, MC, double click, open it up. Nothing is happening in there, import the media. You also know that you can drag it into the bin. You know how to do that. I'm not going to waste your valuable time on that, but let's just go and have all the assets available as a production. So in this scenario, I will look for the multicam. The multicam is going to use 4 angles, as well as the original music that it came from. Therefore, I need to bring that original music also. Right-click one more time, import, and I will look for the asset that is inside the music. And inside the music, I have the rule the world because that's going to be used for timing on the beat. But the one that I'm looking for is in the audio. So if you want to redo these exercises, because this is going to be given to you guys as a recorded webinar, so you can use a reference these lesson plans if you get the 2020 book. Anyways, let's find out. And now we are ready to move on. Because I am pretty much done with setting up all the assets, the good thing is that I don't need to copy it from project to project. I am working on a production. Therefore, if I open up my desert and I look at the material and I want to look at the real estate that is showing Windows drop down, the editing, it is something that you guys are familiar with. It is something. The only thing that is now floating is this production. And if you notice in the Windows dropdown, it is actually registering as a production. It's a brand new window. It's a brand new window. The production is not relevant for me right now, so I can hide it. So let's you and I rearrange things. The first thing I'm looking for is maybe add some music and start to put a show together. We talked about how to put together music on a beat, and my music happens to be in the bin that I remember was called the multicam. So let's find out MCam. There we go. There is a song called Rue the World, which is actually the American spelling of Rue the World. But anyways, double clicking on it, I need to now warn you, if you do have headphones and you're listening to iPad, iPhone, any device, the sound quality is going to better. If you listen to the speakers of the built-in device, it might not be as good as you like it. So I'm going to tone down a little bit the volume because this is very loud. I'm going to adjust it later in the sequence. So I'm going to make sure that I play it through the world. This is what you should hear. And you can see on the right-hand side, it tells you the volume. So that is a musical file. If you are in the source viewer, plus zooms in, home goes to the first frame, and you can see that it begins the beat. And beat, 2, 3, 4, beat, 2, 3, 4. So my scenario is going to be, as we outlined in the webinar promo, we're going to cut onto the beat or cut to the beat. You understand that concept. So with that being said, let's bring it in, and we bring it in the timeline, drop it in, and it drops in, and it creates a brand new sequence based on the name of the clip that it came from. So if you want to rename it, you can click on the drop down and say, excuse me, I have no idea where this sequence is. Well, let's reveal it in the project. It reveals it, and we're going to call it Dubai Time Edit. Okay, so with that being said, now the next thing is you guys know how to increase the track height. If you don't, Option plus increases in the timeline the height of the audio track. And if you want to zoom in, plus zooms in, minus zooms out. Backslash shows you the entire time. Now, because time is limited, I'm already up 10 minutes into the 45-minute presentation. I need to decide how long my show is going to be, how long my promo is going to be. Make it easy. I will make it 1 minute in length. You know how to do this by now. If you don't, this is something new I hope for you. Go to the first frame. You can also hit the home button, Command Option K. The home button, guys, is a go to the beginning of sequence. So if you are a laptop user on Premiere or any other non-linear editing environment, I highly recommend, specifically for these, either learn how to have these buttons assigned or found on the laptop, or just connect a full-size keyboard. Full-size keyboard. Reason being is because I'm going to use the numeric portion of that keyboard for moving around the environment. And I'll explain to you just in a second what I mean by that. If I need to move the playhead is this blue play bar, right? That blue play bar. I would like to move it 1 minute into the story, typing in plus 10000, which is 1 minute 00 seconds 00 frames. The playhead moves down 1 minute into my story. Anything beyond that, I don't need. And I have numbers of ways of cutting off everything from that point on. I will introduce to you something we promised, the top and the tail. Command Option K. Top is going to be the button called Q, and the tail is going to be W. Q as Queen, W as Washington. You pick anything that makes sense to you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to cut off everything from the playhead to the top. Therefore, hitting W, that's it. I have a 1 minute story. You can check it. It identifies 1 minute and 2 frames because it is a drop frame environment. Backsplash. Now, if you listen to the music on your headphones, I'm going to bring up the volume so you can hear me. But if you listen to on the headphones, you will notice that it is loud. I will save your ears, and I click inside a timeline, right click on it, right click on the timeline. And this is magical. I love it. Let me explain you what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to show you Option plus increases the track height. I will show you that the density of the waveform, will reflect the loudness. There is a line that you can see in the middle, that little line. That is pretty much the volume level that you can increase or decrease manually, but it is not adjusting the waveform density. Therefore, if I right click and I have the audio gain option showing up, and I'll bring it down to, let's say, minus 20 decibels, minus 20 dB. Watch what happens to the waveform. The waveform subsides. And if I bring you back to the full quality and you hear it, It does not blow your ears. It's audible, it's listenable. If -20 is too much, you can go back quickly, right-click on it, audio gain, and go back and set the gain not to -20, but let's say -15. Might be much more appropriate. This is fast communication. You guys are hopefully following this, but as we said, everything that I do at this point up till the end of it will be recorded, so you will have access to it. So now I have a 1-minute musical audio bed that I would like to add pictures to it. And this is where I will go back to my friends in the project called the desert. And in the desert, if I remember, there was a sequence of shots. Let me show you how big they are. They are shots of a beautiful scenery, and I will select them either randomly, which is clicking someplace else, holding down Control, and that's the sequence, or I can rearrange visually. For example, the red rose is going to be the second one, now the first one. The yellow carnation, drag it, click and drag it, put it the second shot, and the third shot is going to be carnation. So the first 3 shots will be flowers: red rose, yellow carnation, yellow carnations. I'm going to add 3 more shots to it. Hold down Shift, select 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 shots will be added into the story. Now, at this point, I am not sure how I'm going to put them together. I could theoretically, and I will do it now just for fun purposes, grab them and put them over the music. Now, the music I don't want to mess with, therefore I'm going to have the music locked down so it doesn't affect it. And watch it. If I drag it, all the shots come in. But they are not organized in a beat. So if I play the music, the pictures don't change on a beat. You see my point? So now I will show you a quick way of doing it. Command Z, undo everything up to this point. Let me show you how you can add markers so you can time the beats. If you agree with me and you can hear the beats, let's just double check and hear the beats. 3, 4, beat, 2, 3, 4, beat, 2, 3, 4. So we have beats on those particular sections of the line. Therefore, watch me add the first marker. M. Why? Because on the keyboard, adding the marker is the M button. So with that, I'm going to add, as I feel, as I hear, beats on those junction points. Now, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, and one more. 3, 4, 2. You notice that I added these green icons. They look like shields, but they are markers. They are identifying where the beat is. If you want to check it, you can also hold down Option and split them, and you can actually add information. You know how to do that by now. So if you double click on it and you add information and say, hey, here's the beat. I'm typing in something, obviously, that doesn't make sense, but you understand that you can add information to a marker. To close it, Option or Alt, so you lose that. My point is that I have now markers. The key point is that you need to rewind your playhead to the beginning. Do make sure that the audio, the music, is not being attacked at all, not attached. And if you still remember when I had those clips selected in the desert, if I go in the clip drop down, there should be an option of saying automate to sequence. Because I did additional information or additional movement since I selected them originally, now I need to refresh that. Therefore, I'm going to go back into the desert. Watch it, please. Select again the 6 shots. 1, 2, hold down, Shift through 6. There we go. The 6 shots are selected. And now if I go back to the window, which was the regular window, and in the clip drop down, I have a choice, automate to sequence. If you have done this, you are going to be having fun. If you have not done this, say hello to your new friend, automating to sequence. So I selected 6 shots. I made sure that the playhead is at the first frame, the first marker. Therefore, automate to sequence comes up and asks me, what do I want to do? Well, I would like to have them placed at unnumbered markers, not sequentially, but unnumbered markers. Those are the markers that you and I just added minutes ago. And it will be overwrite edit, which means that from every marker to marker, it will select as much as needed, and that's that, instead of insert edit. So it's going to be overwrite edit. And use the in and out range. Ignore the audio means that I am not bringing the audio from the desert clips. I will not bring them in. And if I did my job right and the computer works right on your end, by the way, for your reference, I am actually looking at a feed on my Dell laptop. So whenever I zoom in, I can see that on my end, I can see that there is no delay or not that much of a delay. Anyways, hitting OK, puts them in. Now all the clips are in. And you notice that they are at this particular junction. If I messed up something, it's probably I had some market outs, but I'll fix it and I'll show you how the fixing works. Watch it one more time. Adding a beat. And the beat changes on the beat, right? Now, if you look at my window, my right window, guys, in my right window, notice that it's not the full environment showing. It's quite possible that the raster size of my images is smaller than the project. So if I want to find out information about the project, I'll find out where the project is, reveal it. And on the project, if I right click, drop down, the drop down should give me, hello, information about the properties. And the properties identify that this project is a 1920-1080. I suspect that the desert shots are 1287-20. So I need to make sure that the desert shots become full size, lasso them from right to left in this case, right click and say, please, could you make them set to frame size? And now the pictures that were 1287-20 are blown up to 1920-1080. So here comes the next element. Remember we talked about the timing, and the timing kind of works and it's okay and it's fine. If I had additional shots, take them out. You know how to do that. Highlight, hit delete, highlight, hit delete. And if I want to make sure that you understand the next concept is going to be, I believe, talking about the top and tail. So let's talk about top and tail, okay? And the top and tail, to me, if you haven't used it before, is going to be really, really a cool one to work with. Top and tail works the following principle. I will add the shot in there. Second shot comes in. And this is where I need to make a nest edit. Listen to it one more time, between 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Between 2 and 3. Now, because I'm going to do it live, that means that I can actually edit. Instead of using the bars, I can edit live and cut things off. What I mean by that is the following. Please watch it. I'm going to add additional desert shots, a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to show you how the beat works. Please watch it. Hit the space bar at the beginning. Prepare and have your hand ready on the button that is called W. The W is going to cut things off. In real time? Yes, in real time. And now cut it off. Cuts it off. That beat is okay.
Summer, take 2, marker.
So I'm cutting off shots as I go with the story. You notice it, how I'm cutting it off. If I'm not happy with it, you know how to do that. Select all the things, hit delete, and I will bring in additional material just to show you how the sizing works. I'm going to bring in some New York shots. The New York shots will be nice and cold, wintry shots. Select a number of them. And I'm going to use the same thing that I used just earlier. If the pictures are not set up properly, remember what we talked about? We talked about that if the pictures are not set up in terms of the raster size, so you don't see things because it's zoomed in, zoomed out, you select all of it. Right click one more time, set to frame size. Now the story begins. I have more than an hour or a minute worth of material. So if I zoom in, which is plus, continue the beat editing, and I'm almost done with it. Now you can hear the natural sound of the background. So if you just want to mute it, it's actually much easier instead of deleting it. So now you understand the top and tail. If you like it, use it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, I am wasting your time, but I hope that you got something out of this. So with that being said, let's find out what is going to be next. So Let's find out where the sequence went. Reveal sequence, there we go, double click on it. And if we are looking for making sure that the picture and the sound is there, video one, there we go, and bring it up, hello. Okay, if we disappeared, we're gonna start from scratch. One more time, here's the rule of the world. We put the stuff in, put it into the story, it comes in and it starts a brand new story. One more time, remember the minute how we cut it off? Plus 1 0 0 0 0, put it in, and we cut it off with care. Now, we talked about top and tail, we talked about resizing things. Now let's talk about the element that is going to be the phase detection, the phase detection. So for phase detection, I need different material, and the different material is going to be in my excuse me. I have multiple shots in the excuse me, and they are all interview shots. So I have an interview person, and I have a person sitting down at the table. So I'm going to select these two shots. One, hold down Control 2, and I'm going to make a brand new sequence out of it. Drop down, new sequence from the clip, and that's it. 2 shots. 1, 2. Now the first shot is the easy one because it's a close-up. The second shot is kind of vacillating. So anything that I have before the guy sits down, I'm going to cut off. You remember how to do that. The top's going to cut off from the playhead to the edit point, which is exactly what just happened. So if I play the 2 shots next to each other, full screen, watch it, please.
Okay.
So I see the guy. Then he starts to look away. And if we speed it up with L, then we see that the facial tone of him walking away as opposed to sitting down at the coffee cup is the same. So now comes the big color thing. If you have done this in color, you are welcome to see it one more time. But let's say that you didn't. If you want to switch from regular edit mode, there are different views of doing that. Workspace, drop down, I'm going to switch to color. And the color comes in. Now I have options to manipulate the brightness and darkness. Depending on what measurements tools you have, I generally see that people use the parade or they use the waveform. It's not something that I want to spend time on, but definitely in the drop down, you can actually select what you want to see. So let's say the waveform is the one, the brightness, darkness. In the tools that I have available, curves is going to be my first thing to make sure that I brighten up the face, darken up the contrast a little bit. And because I want to warm it up slightly, I'll push the red slightly. And you know that if red is by itself, it alters everything. Want to counter it with less blue, which is yellow. So now it's a nice brownish look to it. Nice brownish look to it. If you want to see it without, with. So now you understand that one face is nicely done, but the second face is still washed out. So this is where this tool that we talked about comes in. The tool that I'm referring to in the color family, you have to be in the color workspaces. In the color family, there are 6 tools that you can pick from. The curves was the one that I just played with. I will show you that I will use the color wheels and match. Color wheels and match. And the color wheels and match goes with the following principle. It says, find first what you want to adjust. Namely, I want to adjust the second shot's facial color compared to the first one. Second shot compared to the first one. So the scenario is select the shot first, then you activate the comparison view window, then the window splits. And the left side shows you what the reference is. That is the one that you want to correct it to or adjust it to, presuming that the computer works. And if you have selected the facial tone of the one that is on the right side, there is a simple apply match available. Now, keep in mind, this is not a high-end software plugin. This is just a basic, and it is looking for the facial tones. Anything around it might be affected. So if you just apply the match, watch what it does. It makes it kind of even. And if you want to make still adjustments to the one that is on the right side, you can still go back to the curves and you can maybe add additional brightness, darkness if you want to. Or you can just go back to your friend in the basic color correction and say, contrast it more, less or more. Okay, let me do it one more time because this is a very cool one. So the first thing, you select something that is adjusted already, something that is selected already. So I'm going to get out the color. workspaces, go back into the editing. And in color, you can notice that I have the window still up because the double, actually it's right click and then single click, the display mode allows you to see the comparison view. So let's go composite mode. So I selected already a shot. Let's make a different color. Window, which one? The color. This is a cool exercise. And on the cool exercise, make it a little bit colder. Remember we talked about how the curves can make things warmer, colder. So bring the red down, and push the blue. So it's a colder one. Nice and cool, washed out. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, I am showing you original, adjusted, original, adjusted. And you can see how the quality of the brightness changes. If that is the reference, and you have something on the other one that you need to take off, let's take a look at it. It already has something. Remove the attributes. One way of doing that is obviously remove it, everything, so it goes back to default. So now you have one that is like very cold and one is semi-cold. Very cold, semi-cold. If you want to argue with the colors, sure, bring up the parade or bring up the vector scope, but it is essentially, in my scenario, look at the color amount of the first one as opposed to the second one, yeah? Very cold in the middle. So, step one, just to quickly refresh, you go into the color wheels and match. In the comparison view, you do make sure that you're parking on the one that is not adjusted. Split the window, and then hopefully the facial recognition of the left reference will be translated to the right one, and it does it decently. And it's a good start point. That's what my point is, guys. And I do understand that you will have questions about this, but this is a webinar, also known as a quick demonstration of what the product can do. So hopefully, if you come back and sign up for classes, we'll talk about this a little bit more. Let me see what else is left. So auto frame is the next thing, and multicam is going to be quickly a run through, and we have just enough time to make that work. So you and I are leaving this project. Well, it's not a project, it's a sequence, it's a timeline. To clear it out, let's go back to normal, window, drop down, and set up your basic editing. So in basic editing, I know that I have something in the multi-camera, and the multi-camera is MC. Double click on it, open it up. So if I have the multi-camera, in the multi-camera, I should have a number of shots. Shot number, one angle, another angle, another angle, another angle. These four angles were all timed with a clapper, also known as the slate. And I took the liberty of setting up the marking points where the slate meets, So if I didn't do that job, that obviously means that my slate has to be selected. So if I need to make the slate work, two choices. Visually, I can say where the slate meets. You know what I'm talking about when I say slate. There we go. Or I can find the audio component of the slate by zooming in and say, hey, the slate comes down exactly at that beat. So I'm going to mark it in, there we go, and do the same thing for all four of them. Why? Because I don't trust the audio recognition. Here's my issue. This scenario that we are now working on is presuming that someone did something where they had the music brought in. I'm sorry, the wrong spot. Multi-camera, not test. Let's go back again to the M camera. There we go. Camera one. We presume that they are recording the sound that they are playing back to. So the room playback is what they are working with, okay? So now, watch this, please. Mark in the first one. Second, mark in the second one. Where is the beat? If I see that the beat is the slate, the sound is going to be brought down because this is very loud. So stay with me for a second.
All right, that's summer, take two, marker.
Okay, go back. That's where the slate comes in. Mark in. There we go. Second has it. The third one, the same thing.
That's summer, take two, marker.
There we go. Find it. I'm using the single frame move back, and Shift S allows me to hear the sound while I'm doing that. So that's why I'm able to do this. And the fourth one's going to come in.
That's summer,
Same thing.
take
And
two, marker.
slate, come down.
Marker.
There we go. So there's the slate. That's where slate came down. You understand the concept of the slate. It synchronized the picture and sound. So I have now those four elements there, and I will select them all four, 1 through 4. I right-click on them, and I will create a multi-camera source sequence, which means that I will synchronize them based on based on what I think is appropriate. You heard me saying I don't kind of use the sound time code. Yeah, recognize the audio. No, I use the in point because it's much more accurate and much more efficient specifically for this exercise. So I'm going to make sure that 8 will be going into there. There we go. I'm going to call it MCAM Tuesday. And let's make sure that I have that. MCAM Tuesday. So far, I am moving along, I hope, at the speed that makes sense to you. So within the source monitor, now I see 4 angles. I'm going to make sure that the volume is audible, please. And you see 4 angles moving at the same time.
Good. Good. Yeah.
So the question is that when I bring it in, do I want to listen to the bad sound quality? Not really, guys. Please go to the first frame, drag it into the timeline, and you brought it in. So now you have the picture and the sound, change, sequence setting, that's fine. And now we have the multi-camera. Well, we don't have the multi-camera. First, 2, we have the bad quality sound. When I say bad quality sound, I'm referring to the sound that you hear through the speakers when they are singing to it. Very bad quality. Listen to it. Echo and everything. So I remember just earlier I said there is a song that I found, and it was a song that called That Summer. Now, That Summer is the actual song that the guy sings to. So if I find that song, zoom in and go to the first frame, there's a countdown. Beep, beep, 3, 4. I'm going to grab that beat as a reference. There's the beep. Now, the same beep is also the sound that the guy sings to. So if I zoom in the timeline and make the track bigger, you will see that that beep is coming into the story. Watch it, please. There we go. So before he starts singing, there's a beep. Zooming in, finding where that beep is. And if you zoom in, that's the beep. There we go, that's the beep. That's my marking point. And I will mute that bad room sound. I will mute that bad room sound. Therefore, the only thing that remains for me is make sure that I don't mess with the picture and sound. And I bring in the good quality sound with an overwrite, which should give me a nice lineup. Let's find out if I did my job right. Go home. Please do make sure that the waveforms match, and they kind of match. If I need to shift it, I'll shift it slightly by grabbing it and moving it slightly either direction. There we go. But it is efficiently put together. Now comes the last element. Command S would be a good idea to save up to this point. I need to see where the rest of the pictures are. What happened to them? Right-click on the record monitor and make the record monitor display mode multi-camera. Now comes the big exercise. Hold on to your headphones and listen to it. I'm going to make sure the volume is not screaming. I'm going to drag it down slightly by minus, let's say, 6. Minus 6. You're still with me? Please watch my editing. I need to make sure that the record window that is now showing the entire display mode in multi-camera is standby. Command Shift K. You notice that camera 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to use those buttons to switch from angle to angle. Therefore, now you're in the real studio, full screen. Watch and listen, please. Hit the space bar. Come on now. Okay, so go to the beginning. Let's try it one more time. There we go. Go to the beginning and hit the space bar. Okay. And switching angles. 2, 3. The space bar. Is it set up for multicam? Let's find out. Display mode, multicam. Click it in. Cancel it. Bring it up. All right. So I'm in multicam mode. Oh, because the tracks are not turned on. I tried to tell you, so that's why it wasn't working. Okay, switches angles. Let's make it full screen. Let's get the guitar. Stay on the guitar and pick up the shot number 1. Just about now, we start singing. That's it. Switch on the second angle. Switch on the third angle. Show the guitar again. Angle 4. You see I'm switching and it has the red wires around it. I went obviously a little bit silly, but what you notice that when I go back to normal, you see that I added cuts. So if you play it back, watch it how it changes. And the reason why it sounds good is because we selected the good music, not the bad music that was in the room. So the only thing now remains for us to explain just in a couple minutes, because time is running out, how to have it distributed in different raster sizes. So bring the display mode back to normal. I am done with the source monitor. I can close everything and close also nothing in the source. So now the question is, how do you make this a different raster size? This is a 16 by 9, also 1920 by 1080. So if you want to have this sequence done differently, watch the scenario. If I did my job right and everything works right, in the sequence drop down, there should be a reframe sequence drop down, auto reframe sequence. In the auto reframe sequence, you can set it up to, let's say, set up a different aspect ratio, let's say 4:5. Let's see what happens. Okay, it cuts it down to 4:5. So it creates not just a 4:5, but a different sequence. I have a sequence normal and a 4:5. It only shows you the inside of 4:5. It's like the iPhone. If I want to have it differently done, go back to the original. Sequence drop down, auto reframe, and I'm gonna use the option called vertical 9:16. Let's see how silly that is. That's a very silly one, very tiny one. And now you notice that this can be exported. So I have a normal one. And if you want to do a custom one, this is my last 2 minutes. Make a reframe sequence. You can customize it, not the motion, but you can customize it where? Custom. And I'm going to use the raster as 1:1. 1. Hello. Type in 1 using number 1:1. 1:1 in New York, HBO, and everybody else is the social media raster, and that's a square. And just because my time is running out, let me export the normal size as 16 by 9 and export the one that is like a drastic one to see what is the result of it. So you can see that it cut off the guitar, it shows the guitar, it has only the profile, and it now is square. So it pretty much is the same. If you park on the same picture, it's going to be a different look. So I'm going to export the first one, which is the normal size. Command M, Control M on your Windows machines. The dialog box should come up, and it says I'm going to export the entire sequence. And I'm going to use whatever was the setup. It was 1920 1080, and I'm going to do the export. The question is where. I'm going to put it on a desktop so I can find it. Desktop, and it's going to root the world. Is going to be 1 version. See how fast my computer is. Export 1. 2 minutes. I apologize, I was wrong. So it's going to take too much time. But essentially, you can select a section of that sequence into out. And you remember how to do that. You can select the entire sequence. Hello, cancel. Get out of here. Cancel. Select a segment. Mark in I, O. Just a couple of cuts. That's how simple it would be. I, O. And my minute is almost up. Select the into out. Now, if I select it out, where does it go? Onto the desktop. And on the desktop, I should be able to find it, and it should be much faster. Let's see if I'm correct. Export. There we go. And it is just about time for us to complete things. So whoever stayed with us, I really appreciate your patience. Whoever has questions, I think the office will handle the questions for you guys. So let's just do this.
Hello, Tibor. Do you hear me?
I can hear you now. We're done with the session?
Okay, now we're done with the session. We are open right now for the Q&A. So anyone has any questions, please, Tibor, you can have the answer for everybody. So guys, if you have any questions, please share your questions with us so we can have you have your questions and answer from Tibor. So we will wait for anyone has any questions. Tibor, just give us some time.
Email the questions, Mohammed.
Okay. Do you see the questions on the left, Tibor?
I need to.
Mohsen Azam. Any tip for color grading, he's saying? Can you answer? Yeah.
Here's a quick question about color grading. Let's park on a shot. Okay, so the fast way of color grading is generally facial tones. That's what everybody seems to be going for. So if you want to look for the facial tones, my recommendation is go workspaces, go into the color, and find for the whatever the facial tone is. In this case, I have a facial tone. Let's say here's a facial tone. Generally, when you are working with facial tones, curves is going to be a good thing. So you select a clip and you say, hey, what is my face? Do I need to have it brighter? Do I need to have it? S-curve generally does the brightness and the contrast working. And here is where the facial tone issue comes in. So if you zoom in, I'm going to zoom in a little bit with using my, let's say, 25%, not 25%, I'm going to zoom in like 50%. So if I want to have the facial tone, you understand that if you put more red, it gets more red. If you take away red, cool it off. And obviously it goes to brown. Generally, if you warm it up, you put some red and take away blue, that makes it nice and brown. Generally, that is a good one. If you want to desaturate it, you can also use the basic corrections, decontrast it, and desaturate it, which is going to make it colder, the sepia tone. So those are the fast ones. And obviously, there is so much about it. We sometimes do a 2-day training on the color. So that's my short answer. Any other ones, Mohammed?
Okay, well, thank you, Adil, for your comment. And we'll be running on 28th. Is it 20? I think it's 22nd. We're going to have Black Magic Da Vinci free webinar. So everybody welcome to attend. We'll be sending the invitation. Also, you can find it on our website from the main menu webinars, and you can join from now if you wish. Now, by the way, you can, once we finish the session, you will be receiving an evaluation. I would highly encourage you guys to evaluate our session to do better for you guys. Also, I have a question. How was the technical setup? Did you face any difficulties? Now, we recommend to use Chrome or Firefox for the browser. So I think we wrote this in the email. If you have any questions, we are open right now for any questions. And do me a favor, if you can just give us the evaluation, we'd highly appreciate it. Thank you,
Shukran.
Midla.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you soon. Please do the evaluation. Thank you very much.
Okay, good
Thank you,
deal.
guys. Good night.
Good night.
Merci, Papa. That summer reels through my mind. As I recall, stars bright. Something in the air felt right. Days were long, that we held each other. We could never carry on. Good down the road, where really we didn't know. We were just having fun. We're having fun. Having fun. That summer. Headphone down on me as we laid on.
Okay. We're done.
Wait.
Okay. Sorry.
Just wait, Tibor. I'm just answering some questions.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I think that we are done. Now they will be able to, guys, to do the evaluation. Thank you and good night. Tibor, I'll be offline.
Thank you. Shukran.
Thank you. Thank you. Have fun.